We just heard Claire there talking about this optimism that Emmanuel Macron is hoping to bring to the French people, this sense of newness, if you like. There is a bit of ambiguity, though, there, because he is a bit of an outsider, a bit of a newbie, but he's also part of the establishment. How will he walk that line, do you think, for the French voters and finally the French people if he becomes president?
I think he is, in fact, the manifestation of the new lines that are actually being drawn the last, 5, 6, 7 years that we see not only in France but all over Europe. But this line is people that will say populist protectionists against people that will be like liberals, but not liberals only on an economic point of view, and that's the reason why we make a big mistake when we try to qualify him, saying is he right or is he left? He's not right. He's not left. He's the center. He's neither right nor left. He's not even the center. Even if François Bayrou wanted him to be in the center, and he said he's not in the center because he's part of this new liberal line that is liberal on the point of view of immigration, culturally, and also sexuality and these kind of things, and also economically. But from the 80s in Europe and specifically in France, when we were talking about someone being on the right, we will say economically liberal, but in the same time more moral on the sexuality and more, on this morality wise. Mm-hmm. And on the other side, you had people that were left. They would be more liberal on sexuality, morality, and those kind of things, and they will be for social protection, not protectionist on a state point of view. But now we don't have this line anymore. Marine Le Pen doesn't have this line anymore. She wants people from supposed to be the far left to vote for her. We have seen that with Florent Philippot. And on the other side, that's the same. So he is the product of this new line, and he understood it better than others. That's the point.
Do you think he also represents a certain need, a desire for optimism as opposed to fear, pessimism, which so many French people have expressed here over the past year?
In fact, it's in a way it's what I have said. Because the people that are protectionist are the people populist. They want to feel for protection. They feel that they have anguish of identity. They think all what is around, it could be Islam, it could be terrorism, it could be globalization, capitalism as a whole. Even the liberal world is surrounding them, and so they fear that there could be from left sensibility on the right sensibility, and on the other side, Emmanuel Macron is leading the people that thinks, no, that's not a problem. Immigration is not a problem. Europe is not a problem. Globalization is not a problem. So we need to go forward. And so we can see that those two lines, and it's interesting because when people say some people will join Macron, but it's not logical because some of them are like very on the right because they are really liberal economically. And others are people that were from Mai 68, May 1968. Yeah, and they will come also to see Macron and say, what's happening? It's just that it's a new line.
So what does this mean?
It's logical, but on this line, not on the right-left line.
So what does that say about the traditional parties here in France, the Les Républicains on the center-right, the Socialists on the left? We haven't seen an election where a candidate from each of those two parties has not been in the final round in over 50 years. What does that say for the future of those parties?
But you know what happened? This line has started to split those parties inside them. Inside the Socialist Party, there was a war between the people that were for this integral liberalism and other people that were like for instance, Manuel Valls, like into the identity kind of things. And you can see that with the concept of laïcité. The last 6 years,
secularism.
Exactly, secularism, sorry. Secularism, political secularism. People, they will all say, we are for political secularism, but they will have a different definition. Like Marine Le Pen, she said, yes, I'm for political secularism, I am from the Republic. And the other, they say, yes, we are too, but they don't have the same definition. On one side, it's the one that being scared about the religion of the other, about Islam and all that. And on the other side, it's just, it doesn't really matter. We just need to go forward again. So all the subjects in politics, they were literally fed by these new differences. And at first, this war was inside the political parties like the Socialist Party, also inside the Republicans. And now the real question is, what will happen with the MPs? What will happen with the National Assembly? Because he needs a majority, and you can't have a majority if you don't have a party. So, it's going to be more complex afterwards.
Indeed, indeed. How much do you think this was François Fillon's election to lose? Going into this about 4 or 5 months ago, before all the corruption scandals surrounded him broke, people seemed to think that he was the front runner. He was the heir apparent with the implosion of the Socialist Party, and yet this happened. Do you feel that just was a stroke of luck for Emmanuel Macron? Do you think if Fillon had not been affected by these scandals, would Macron be there today?
I think in fact François Fillon would have been elected. Would have been elected, and not because there is this tendency wasn't there, because François Fillon, if you could see, it was very interesting, because in the beginning of his campaign, when he was almost sure to become the next president in January, he emphasized on the liberal part, like economic part. He was the guy that will lead us for the future, very liberal and everything, with companies and the startups. He was talking about these kind of things, very economic. And when he saw that things were getting bad for him because the affairs, he tried to change, and he was into like fear, anguish, and Islam. There is a plan to try to win, even if there was the affair. That wasn't enough. But in fact, he went from one side to the other of the populist liberal, from the liberal to the populist part. But he lost because, of course, the affairs. And what is interesting with Emmanuel Macron is that he's the first one to have built not a party, but some kind of a movement that is entirely in the liberal tendency. But this tendency was just one part of the different parties before, but now it's just entirely in his movement. So he can face Marine Le Pen, who is the only one to be entirely in the other tendency, not right, not left, but completely populist.
Raphaël Uguier, thank you so much for coming in to speak to us.